Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Badgerland Birding Podcast. I'm here today with Margie, and Margie is a birder and artist from Illinois. Margie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing even better now that I'm wearing one of the shirts that you gave us, which is a Midwest Prairie Bird shirt. So
Amazing.
I first became aware of Margie because our friend Don actually had a bunch of shirts, and Don is a Vortex rep. So he somehow got in contact with you. I don't know exactly where he found you, but he had these loon shirts and these Downy Woodpecker shirts. And I was like, those are pretty neat looking, Don. And he's like, take a few. And then I don't know how we got connected after that. I think I was like wearing one of them, or Derek was wearing one of them, and you were like, that's my shirt on Instagram or something.
Yeah. I had been following you guys for a while actually on my personal account, and I saw my shirt in one of your videos, and I was like, that's my loon shirt. And so I swiped up, and it turns out you guys had met Don at the Rio Grande Birding Festival and connected with him, and I had connected with him at the Urban Birding Festival in Chicago last year and had partnered up with Vortex to do a bunch of giveaway shirts with them. So
So I think that the first question is where did this all begin for you?
yeah.
Where and why and how did you start drawing birds in the first place?
So it goes back a while actually. So I'm from Chicago and I grew up going to Rhinelander, Wisconsin, just like all of us Chicago people do.
Home of the Hodags.
Exactly. I was terrified of them as a kid, actually.
Were
Uh,
you actually?
I was actually. So I grew up going to a resort in Rhinelander, and my dad at night would say, there's hodags in the woods, so don't go out of the cabin and don't look out your window. And I was terrified as a kid because I didn't know if they were real or not. And I remember seeing the statue in town and how big it was. But then I had these little stuffed animals. So I was like, are they small? Are they big? I don't know. I'm just not going to look outside because I'm too scared to know if they're real. My dad would say that their eyes would glow in the woods. So I was terrified as a little kid of the hodag.
Wow. So you basically just spent probably hours trying to hypothesize on whether these were an actual threat to your life or not.
I did, especially as a little one. But as I got older, I was like, I don't think it's real. Like, I don't think so. I don't see these in any of my field guides.
You're like, I've studied a little zoology now, and this particular animal has not yet popped
Literally.
up. For anybody wondering, Rhinelander has like a fictitious beast called the hodag, which somebody just made up as kind of a tourist attraction. So it just was this thing where a guy said this creature called a hodag lived in the woods there. Now they've really adopted it. Their high school team is called the Hodags. They have statues of this thing that looks like a cross between like a bear and an iguana, I guess. So that's what the hodag is, and that's up in Rhinelander. So anyway, continue. You were up in Rhinelander trying to
Yeah.
fear for your
So,
life from the hodag, and then what
yeah,
happened
so
next?
from the hodag, I became interested in nature at a really young age. I grew up fishing with my mom and my grandpa, and they would, point out the wildlife we'd be seeing on the boat. I was mostly focused on fish though as a child, and even into like high school and college. I was really interested in drawing fish, and the first bird that my spark bird, I guess, was the common loon. As a child, just they were common on the lake that we went to each year in Rhinelander. I was really interested in their call. You just hear it at night going up there. But then, I stuck with being interested in nature for a while. And living in Chicago, we have so many great forest preserves. And I grew up by one called LaBaugh Woods, which is a pretty big one. And they also are known for like the warblers that they get at that forest preserve, especially. So I grew up going there with my dad, and he'd point out things and teach me a little bit about it. I was also in a little group called Nature Trekkers. It was a free group for kids, and it was this guy who would take us in the woods and teach us about all the animals we were seeing and like survival skills. And we'd build like little things out of sticks. And there were like four of us in the group. It was really interesting. And then I've been like an artist since I was a little kid. I've always been interested in drawing. High school, I stuck with it. I never really had a focus up until college. So I went to Grand Valley in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I was getting a BFA in printmaking there. And my professor, I had been drawing mostly fish while I was there and turning them into linoleum block cuts or screen printing them. And screen printing is kind of like you're using screens to push ink through them. It's burned with a
I thought you were
photo
gonna say you're using
emulsion.
screens to print, and I was gonna be
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you're using screens to
you
print.
nailed it.
And you're using a photo emulsion and like burning an image into it and pushing ink through it. It's how you can get a design on a t-shirt or like paper. You can use a bunch of different materials for it. But so I would draw the image first and then transfer it into a silk screen print or a linoleum cut. And at first, like I said, I was only doing fish. And then I had a printmaking professor, his name's Dallas, at Grand Valley, who's really interested in bird watching and fishing. And he was like, hey, have you ever tried bird watching? And I was like, no, not really. And he's like, oh, you really seem to like patterns and animals. Like, you should give it a try. You should download the Merlin app. And I was like, okay, yeah. And, I'll do that. So he's like, go to this local pond right by school, check it out, use the app, and, let me know what you think. And so I did, and I kind of just never stopped. And it grew into this huge thing. And I actually started going bird watching with Dallas after class or on the weekends, and we went fly fishing a few times together, and he'd point out birds to me along the river to kind of help me get better at bird watching. And then my entire focus in school shifted from fish to birds
That's
completely.
how it gets you.
Exactly. And so it really helped me to recognize the birds too by drawing each of them. There's certain birds that I still haven't seen that I've drawn. And so when I do end up seeing that bird, I know right away because I've been up close and personal drawing it. And yeah, so that was about almost 4 years ago that I've started birding. And now, post college, it's kind of shifted into this project of hoping to draw all the birds of the Midwest. So currently, I'm about 150 birds in, and on my list to go, I have 200 birds. And each time a bird touches down in the Midwest, I add it to the list. So that list just keeps growing.
Yes. What year have you decided, to go back to in terms of what touches down in the Midwest? So, are
Yeah,
you like, well, from when I started, or are you like 10 years ago? Because I distinctly remember a white-winged tern that popped up in Wisconsin like 6 or 7 years ago.
so I've been going back about like kind of since I started this project. So within the past like 4 years, things that touch down, and those things that touch down that are pretty rare, are not the first birds I'm drawing. I'm still focused on all the birds that are like more prevalent to the Midwest that are like here, like continued each year. Those birds that might pop up for a second, like this summer, we had a white-faced ibis here that I got
Mhm.
to see. I probably won't get around to drawing that for a while just because it's not something we see super often here. So eventually that's when once I finish all of the main birds that are here almost every single year, I'll get into those birds that are kind of oddities that show up.
So, what's the next one on your list?
Right now I'm kind of like pushing through shorebirds. I just finished
That's
all
the
of
exact right description of how to draw pushing through shorebirds.
Yeah, it's tough because they all look so similar. And especially drawing them because I'm only doing line drawing and working in black and white before I transfer them into screen prints. Trying to get those details in so that it's distinguishable for each of the people. It can be a little bit tough, but I'm working with a lot of reference photos. I'm also a photographer as well, so I photograph a lot of my own reference photos, and then I'll use a couple different ones to kind of come up with some sort of drawing for them.
How long does it usually take you to draw one bird?
So right now, just because I'm doing it like every single day, depending on how complex the bird is, anywhere from an hour to 3 hours usually per bird.
And I'm assuming that you have some other job that isn't birding, drawing, like you do something else for a career, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Yeah, so I work at DePaul University. I work in the art school there, and I manage the art studios there, and I do admin work there. So it's pretty related. I help manage the printmaking studios and the photography at DePaul. So kind of goes hand in hand. It's all still art.
Yeah, for sure. So you kind of do that, then you go home and you draw for 1 to 3 hours every single day, and then lather, rinse, repeat the next day.
Pretty much. So I actually draw mostly on my lunch breaks at work, which is really helpful. Or I'll draw in the mornings before work. And then after work is my time usually for printing. So I have my own studio in my house and I print in my basement. I screen print everything by myself, all by hand too. I'm doing all manual screen printing, mixing my own inks as well. So all the colors you see, it's not just like that's not the color I buy. I have like red, yellow, and blue, and I'm mixing the colors to get exactly what I like and what I envision. So everything's really, really hand touched and handmade.
Yeah, it does have a definite style. You can definitely tell when it's one of yours. Because for anybody watching who's not listening, if you just look at the shirt, there's a definite style to the birds, and they all kind of have a similar-ish color palette, I guess. How did you decide on that style? Like, how did it originate? What is it about it that makes it look so distinctly you? Last time we talked, I said it reminded me of like a North Woods kind of theme.
Yeah, well, definitely Northwoods theme. Just I'm pulling inspiration from the colors I see and the items I see up in like the Rhinelander area. I still
Just
get up
another
that
person
way.
from Illinois who draws inspiration from Wisconsin.
Yeah, it happens often. I go camping there a few times a year, and I pull so much of my inspiration from Wisconsin, honestly. I go up to Peninsula State Park at least once a year, Devil's Lake as well, and the
Devil's Lake is
Rhinelander area.
fantastic.
Yeah, and I pull so much of my inspiration from those areas just because the birding is so great up there.
Do you ever
Um,
do Devil's Lake in the winter time?
I usually go in November when I go to Devil's Lake.
Okay.
I've actually never been in summer.
You got to go just straight up in winter when the Townsend solitaires are there.
Oh, I
That's,
actually, the first time I ever went, I got to see a Townsend Solitaire, and
oh,
it was
nice.
in November, which was
Oh,
super
cool.
surprising. Yeah, and I had a photo, and they were like, no, you have to include a photo. I submitted on eBird, and I was like, yeah, here's
Yeah.
this photo, and they were like, oh yeah, it is that. I'm like, great.
Yeah, the first time I ever submitted something around eBird, I also got scolded. They were
Yeah,
like, "Are you sure that you saw a red-shouldered hawk? Because that's rare for this area." And I was like, "Take it easy. Here's a picture." And they were like, "Why
I
didn't you put in
know.
the picture, idiot?"
I know. I always feel like I'm getting scolded. They're like, this is rare. Are you sure? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Like, I think so.
It's kind of awful because I have it actually connected to an email address I don't really use anymore. So I probably have had many
That's so
questions that
funny.
eBird reviewers have sent me that I've just never seen. I'll
That's so
probably have to go and dig into it at some point and
Yeah, I do
fight with
most of
them
my
about it.
birding. I do most of my birding with my sister, and she's the one who usually is making the checklist. And she'll be like, "I just got this email," and I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm on it. I'll prove it. I'll send the photos. I'll do everything we need to do." Yeah.
Um, that's cool. You got to see one of those in the winter time though, or in November. That's kind of when they start to show up is November, sometimes even a little before that. But a few years ago, we had a really good year for them where there was like 16 or 17 all on Devil's Lake. I don't
Oh
know why there was
wow.
so many. I don't remember, or I don't know if you were there for this or remember this, but there was also gray crown rosy finches that were up there, and
Oh no.
then a couple of golden eagles hanging out. So it was just a little western bird paradise up on Devil's
Yeah,
Lake.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's a great spot to bird. We make sure to go there every single fall to hike and to bird. So yeah, I actually just booked my trip yesterday for Devil's Lake at the end of October. So it's just like this annual thing we do.
It's funny to hear that you book a trip there because we just decide on a whim to go there.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
that's
tomorrow sounds like a
nice.
Devil's Lake kind of day.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my friends aren't birders, so we'll make a trip out of it and I'll just like casually bird the entire trip. They're like, we should do this hike, not because there's birds there or anything.
You're like, I heard the Balanced Rock Trail is really cool.
Yeah,
You're
right.
all gonna love it.
Yeah. Yeah, as for the style though, you asked about like what influenced that. Honestly, lino printing, so like linoleum block cuts, it's like so you have a sheet of linoleum and you're carving it out with a tool, and then it's a reduction. So you're putting like a roller with ink over it, and you're getting the reduction print. So that's kind of how my style has become a thing. So I strictly work in black and white first before adding any color. And I'm using those repeated patterns and lines that you would use when carving in a like typical linoleum block.
And then, how did you get started with actually selling the stuff that you do too? What was the first time when you realized people might want this, that they might want to spend some money on this? And what object was it? Was it a sticker? Was it t-shirts? What was it that got you going first?
Yeah, so I actually worked for an artist in Grand Rapids. Her name's Dana. She goes by Solstice Handmade, and I helped her with screen printing. And so she was doing wholesale art markets, website. She was doing clothing, prints, stickers, all sorts of different things. But she's mostly working with like fungi and bugs and insects and things like that, and occasionally like mammals and birds. But working under her taught me like, hey, I could do this with my own stuff. Because at that point, I was already drawing birds, but I was only doing paper prints at the time. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to sell this. But working under her taught me like, oh, this is how you do an art market, which I could talk about a little bit too, because that's what I do on the weekends.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in hearing about that too, because we've been to a lot of, especially festivals, where we see the booths and stuff set up. But
Yeah.
yeah, first I want to hear about what you sold first, but then after that, yeah, let's get into
Yeah.
that.
My first ever art market was actually in Wisconsin. I did the first market I ever did was the Kenosha Art Market, and it's at this little park called Union Park in Kenosha. I still do it in the summers, and I had a little table, no tent or anything. My prints weren't even packaged, and it was just a variety of different birds, nothing really labeled. The first thing I ever sold was a loon print, and it was just a loon on water, just a black solid ink, and it was this teeny little print. And at that point, I was like, I should do something with this. And so I developed like while I was in school, and a lot of my work, at least on paper prints, you'll see a circle. I got
Mhm.
grilled for it in college. I had a great professor. His name was Fish, and he would say, "What's the circle mean?" And I could not give him an answer. I was like, "I don't know what it means. I just like it. It's just a style choice." He goes, "That's not good enough." So I'm like, "Okay." And every single class, he would grill me. It stressed me out so bad.
You
And
clearly stuck to your guns, apparently, though.
yeah, I did. I just kept doing it. I was like, I like this circle. Well, I'm so thankful for him as a professor because it wasn't until after I graduated that I realized what that circle was. It was looking through the binoculars, looking through the camera
Hmm.
lens, like looking at
Okay.
everything up, looking through a scope. It was that circle coming out just like unconsciously, I think, in my artwork. And then the colors that I choose for the circles, a lot of times it's just like colors I see in nature that I like as backgrounds. I don't know that it has a significant meaning. Maybe a couple years down the line, I'll figure out that it does, but as of right now, it doesn't. But yeah, so it's a way for people who want to hang like artwork in their house. I do a variety of different colors with the circle background. So it'll be like one bird, six different colors you can choose from for the circle background to match whatever you want in your house.
It definitely looks like it means something, because when I would go through your prints that you do and everything, I would see the circle and I'd be like, it has to mean something. It just has the vibe of like a moon or a sun or
Well, yeah,
something.
depending on the color, that also comes through. And that's kind of when I first explained it, I remember being like, it's the circle of life to give my professor an answer. And he was
Just
like,
trying to
that's not good
BS your way
enough.
through it.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what it is. Or I'm like, it's the sun, it's a moon, it's this, it's that, it's the
It
planet.
is the
Like,
earth and it
yeah, it
is
was
the
gonna say
soul.
it's the earth, like it's a window into the soul. I'm like, I don't know, you know? But yeah, so it's funny how like little things come out like that. But the first things I started selling were mostly prints. And then I started dabbling in clothing a little bit. The first ever clothing I did was before I even had like a full setup here. It was like a moth shirt. It had two moths on it. It was a black shirt with two white moths on it, and it started selling. So I was like, maybe I should do more clothing. So then eventually I developed my name Forest Presco because that took me like kind of a year to really think on that. And I used the loon in homage to Rhinelander as my logo.
Of course.
And that was also one of my first shirt designs was the loon circle. I have it on a sweatshirt and a shirt, and it's still one of my best sellers. Um, and then from there, I've just kind of branched out. And so I think currently I have like 20 different designs for clothing that's available like through my website. And I bring those with me to all my art markets. And right now, I'm really pushing even more to kind of switch out all my old things and bring in new things because it keeps me a little more interested in the work I'm doing. So I have like 4 new designs lined up, especially for the Urban Birding Festival that's coming up in a couple weeks.
Do we get a sneak preview? Did you send some to us?
I did not. I haven't taken any pictures of any of the stuff. It'll be coming soon. A lot of people at the Urban Birding Festival get the first preview of it. I probably won't even post it on my website until after the Urban Birding
Is
Fest.
one a peregrine falcon?
It's not, but that is on one of my shirts. It's on the Raptor shirt. Um, but a little one of them, I'll tell you one of them. It's the Scotters of North America. It's a front and a back. It's a three color. It's like blue, orange, black, and it says like Scotters North America. It's got the white wing Scotter, black Scotter, and the surf Scotter. So that one I'm like really pumped for.
That's cool. Yeah, I do the colors on it pop like on the bill.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, they
that's
pop a
cool.
lot. It's like a bright orange and a bright blue. It's kind of unlike some of the stuff I've done before, so I'm really excited for that
Oh,
one.
interesting. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
be curious to see that for sure.
yeah, I
Um,
usually do pretty neutral colors, so this one's a little more like popping, so I'm excited for it.
well, they're that kind of bird too. They're kind of that without the bill, they're kind of dull looking, and then you
They're
just
so
see the
flashy.
bright
Yeah,
bill, especially like the surf scoter is pretty
yeah,
intense with the bill.
yeah. I just got back from Maine 2 days ago, and I saw my first ever black Scotter, and it was the bill, and it was from afar. I was pretty far away where I saw it, and it was that bill right away with the bright orange, and I was like, "Yep, black Scotter." It was so cool.
Was Maine a straight up birding trip too, or was it not?
No, it was actually my honeymoon. I just got married.
Oh,
Like,
oh, congratulations.
thank you. Yeah, we decided to do Maine, and there was of course a lot of birding
I was gonna
entailed.
say, I feel like Maine is a great place to go birding. You get all
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
Northeast
was.
specialty type stuff up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, especially like pelagic birds. But the thing is, I get super seasick. So we went on a boat once, and that's where I did see the black scatter, which was really cool. But yeah, we didn't like go too far offshore. There was a boat that day going to Cash's Ledge, which is it's like 50 miles off the coast of Maine, I believe. And it's one of those areas where there's like an underwater mountain range, I believe. And so
Oh, interesting.
a lot of birds, when they're migrating, will kind of go there because the water's more shallow. So you have a chance of seeing all these crazy different birds, but it was a 12-hour boat ride. And I was
Oh,
like,
jeez.
they only do it once a year too. And it was the happened to be the weekend we were there. And I'm like, I just don't think I can handle it, honestly, 12 hours on the water. And with the
Yeah.
hurricane coming up, there was really strong wind and waves from, I don't know what the hurricane name was that just happened, but yeah, it would have been pretty intense. So we skipped out on that.
I feel like any sort of pelagic boat trip, as intense as it is, you have to really commit to it because we did one in Westport in Washington,
Yeah.
and Derek is all about pelagics. I think he
Yeah.
would take almost any opportunity to do a pelagic. And I'm like, you have to get up at like 4 a.m. and you're out there until
Yeah.
3 p.m. That is a
Yeah.
full day out on the water.
I feel like I could handle that, but it's just like if I get any type of seasick or if I'm looking through my camera or binoculars while also moving, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
that
hard to
circle you love so
focus.
much really works against you there.
Oh, really? I'm like, maybe that would like inspire some other art.
I don't know if that's the kind of art that you want to be putting on shirts and things.
Literally. Yeah. So yeah.
So how much of that trip though, your honeymoon was spent birding? I'm hoping at least 50%.
I was gonna say about half of it probably. Um, yeah, I was actually surprisingly more interested in some of the other things outside of birds. Like we got to see two river otters, like right on um the rock, like the cliffs. It was like it was at Otter Cliffs actually,
Oh,
and
perfect.
yeah, and I actually have a friend who works at Acadia, and he was like, I've never seen them there, which I was like, I
Hmm.
feel super special to have seen that, and two of them too, and they were really going at it, playing and hiding under rocks, and it was just we were the only ones who ended up seeing them, and I also got to see a lion's mane jellyfish, which
Oh, cool.
they're pretty rare there. It was on shore. And actually, if you find them there, you're supposed to email. There's this group who are studying them because I guess in Maine, they're not super rare, but they're finding that there's bigger ones that are showing up all of a sudden. Usually they're about the size of a dinner plate there when they find them, but they've been finding ones that are up to like 3 to 6 feet wide, which is extremely
Jeez.
rare there. And I
That's a
think it has
beast.
to do with the changing water temperatures and just climate change in general, which was really interesting to read about because I was like, I wonder if these are rare here. And it was like, if you find them and they're bigger than a dinner plate, please email us. Ours
Hmm.
it was like 2 feet wide.
That's
So
pretty cool.
yeah, it was really interesting to read about. Yeah.
Did you see any moose out there?
No. Apparently moose
Isn't
are
Maine
really,
supposed to be
really
like moose
rare.
central? Really?
Yeah, apparently they're very rare in Acadia. I think it's like if you go more to central Maine, like I said, my friend who works in Acadia, he was just in more central Maine at like the tallest peak in Maine, and he ended up seeing one in a lake there. But when I was looking through the national park website for Acadia, it said that moose are pretty rare to see. Same with black bears, they're rather rare there.
Interesting. Yeah, I think of Maine as the place to go to see moose, pretty much.
That's kind of what I thought too. That's why I looked it up before, but I guess they're like rarely seen in Acadia
Probably
specifically.
like northern Maine, because the top half of Maine is on Canada's power grid and it's just like a
Yeah,
completely different place, basically.
yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah,
think I
no.
read that there's more moose there than there are people.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
don't know
would,
if that's true, but I think
yeah.
I read that somewhere.
That would be crazy. Yeah, I listened to this podcast, National Park After Dark, and they have this thing about moose not being real, and it's super funny. So I'm like, moose aren't real. What do you mean?
So you're trying to do like the birds aren't real? Like,
Yeah,
no, moose
birds
aren't
aren't
real. Okay.
real. What do you mean?
Also, Park After Dark definitely sounds like a scandalous podcast.
I wish it, yeah, it's like, it's not. It's just like really scary stuff that happens in the national parks. And we happen to listen to it every time we visit a national park. It's like the worst
Interesting
things that
choice.
happen there. Yeah. So when we go camping, we usually throw on like a podcast from them and listen to it, which is, it's pretty interesting, but it's a
Is
little
it
spooky.
creepypasta type stuff or is it actual, cases of things that have happened?
Actual cases that have happened. They do a listener tales episode like once a week, and that one is there's like paranormal things and some
Oh,
spooky stuff. It's just like people submitting stories that they're reading from the parks. But when they tell stories, it's usually like pretty tragic things that have happened in the parks or like survival things that have happened or how someone did or did not survive and what they did and then the advice that they give on it. So it's pretty interesting. There's definitely a lot I've learned about what to avoid.
I'm getting a very interesting picture of who you are as a person, like from your childhood and now this. Like,
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
told to go to a pond and bird and randomly decided to do it. Loves
Yeah.
Wisconsin more than Illinois, continues to live in Illinois.
Oh no, trust me, I know. I
Terrified
would
of
love to
hodags until the age of 21.
literally. No, to sum me up as a kid, there was one time we were walking at the nature center by my house and my dad and I, it had just thawed like the snow, and we found a possum. And it was mostly bones at the time. I was probably like 6 years old when we saw this. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need to take this home with us. And my dad was like, I don't know about that. And I was like, no, I think we do. I think we need to clean off those bones and I can put it in my little like bone drawer under my bed. My
The
dad was
fact that
like,
you have to say that you had a bone drawer under your bed.
I did. I had it. It was like my junk drawer. I actually like got in trouble for it once because I collected a bunch of crab apples and put them in a bag. And I was interested to see what would happen after a week. And there were maggots under my bed. And my parents were like, "No more junk drawer." And I also, it was like the year of the 17-year cicadas. I collected a bunch of the
Oh,
dead ones and I had them under my bed. And my parents were like, "Let's probably throw those out." I'm like, "Why? Like they're so cool." And they're like, "Because they smell." But the possum, my dad was like, I don't know how your mom will feel about it. We should probably leave this here. Ugh, fine. We go home. I tell my mom, and my mom was like, oh, absolutely not. And I'm like, no, we could go back and just like boil it and like I'll have the bones and the skull. And my mom was like, you're one weird kid. And honestly, I haven't really changed. So
how old were you when this happened?
I was like 6 years old.
Most people do that with live animals. They're like, can we please get this dog from the shelter? Can we please get this kitten?
I was always really into the odd things and I actually up until about a year ago was volunteering at the Peggy Notabart Nature Museum in Chicago doing taxidermy there and taxidermy of birds specifically, and most of the birds that we received there were birds that had actually hit the building and were window
Oh,
collision birds. But yeah, it just kind of morphed into this thing where I was really interested into the oddities. It was like ever since I was a little kid, I'm like, this isn't that weird. And it's like, I know people think taxidermy can be really strange, and it's like, oh, you're like a serial killer, like all these weird things. But it's like, it's really interesting to be up and close with the anatomy of the bird. It actually helped me to like draw a little bit better and know certain parts of the bird, like this sticks out this way or this is this.
Yeah, I can imagine that's true because I've seen bird drawings before and I've tried. I mean, I draw a little bit, but not terribly seriously. But I've tried to draw before or seen other people's drawings where the essence of the bird isn't really captured for some reason. I especially
Yeah.
see this with owls. It's like owls seem hard for
Yes.
people to draw and really capture their actual essence, but it's like the
Yeah.
subtleties of how each thing bends and how each thing sits on the bird and how they carry their wings and their tail and just their stature and where they lean. It's all that little stuff that you
Yeah.
can look at it and just be like, even from a silhouette, oh, that's one of these, oh, that's one of these. And I feel like definitely looking at the anatomy of them would help you pick that out more.
Yeah, oh, definitely. No, it really helped me. I did it for about a year and just getting up close and personal with it, even like the insides, like it doesn't feel like it matters to see like the stomach and all these things, but it kind of did. Like in the end, I was like, this is really helping me with the anatomy when I'm just drawing these birds. And now that I've done it so many times, like it's just so quick when I'm like trying to figure out a certain part of a bird when I'm doing a drawing. It's like I can easily just kind of decide like, oh, I should probably draw it this way because this is like more accurate to the anatomy of the bird.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there a bird that you're really excited to draw coming up? Like, I know you're pushing through shorebirds, but is there one that you have on the horizon where you're like, I'm
Uh,
really excited to tackle that project?
that's a good question. Why? I'm really into waterfalls, so I'm really sad that I just finished all of those. I did like 50 of them.
Jeez.
Let's think. Like I have my list.
Have you done American Dipper yet?
I have not.
That's
No.
one
That
that
would
I'm
be a
always excited
really
to
great
draw.
bird to draw. I think I'm excited to do sparrows. I think that's going to
Okay.
be a challenge, but I really haven't drawn any except for a Savannah sparrow, which is on the shirt you have, and then a house sparrow, and that's literally it. Um, yeah, that little guy right there. Yeah. Yeah, and that shirt actually was inspired by Horizon Farms in Cook County. So I went there with my sister 2 months ago, I think, and I'd never been. It's just this old abandoned horse farm, and it was just, I think the county just got it this year or something like that. And we went and it was just amazing. I felt like I was in another world and it was all yellow and all these different flowers and so many bobolinks and Savannah sparrow. Every single bird that's on your shirt, we saw there. So
Birds of the Midwest Prairie.
yeah, yeah, it was really awesome. So there's so many hidden gems like that. And actually, my sister and I set out with a goal this year to we called it a big year, but like it's competitive in Cook County. So I'm not like going hard with it, especially with a full-time job and business. Um, but to see as many birds as possible in Cook County in one calendar year, we're currently at 210, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And yeah, the goal was that because so I've lived in Chicago like my entire life outside of college.
My condolences.
Yeah, I know. Wisconsin soon, hopefully. But uh I don't love Chicago and I wanted to do something about that. So I was like, I'm gonna explore a bunch of places within my county this year that I've never been to get myself to enjoy living here a little bit more and give myself something to be excited about, which sounds bad, but honestly, it has really helped. Like it has brightened my mood so much more. It's like showed me that wow, like Cook County actually has so many cool hidden gems that I never knew about, or things that are only 30 minutes away from my house that I found through eBird that I never would have known about. Yeah,
That's like one of my favorite things about birding in general is that you end up in so many places that you would never expect. And I think more than even the beautiful places, I like the eclectic places. So
yeah,
one of my favorites is the sod farm. So this time of year, the buff-breasted sandpipers come through all of the sod farms in Wisconsin, and I always find myself going to these sod farms and looking at buff-breasted sandpipers and just thinking, why else would I ever be here if not for this? Or, of course, you don't really want to go to the dump that much, but I've gone to the dump a number of times to
yeah.
look for gulls and other things. So that's another one where you just look around and you're like, it's so weird that I'm here right now, but I wouldn't ever be here if not for this.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've also been to dumps before for birding,
So
and
you
it,
understand, you get
yeah, I
it.
get it. It's like I never would have gone here otherwise. And
And
there's a
you were
bunch.
probably excited to go too. It was probably
I
like,
was.
I'm
I
going
was
to the
so pumped.
dump.
It was actually the first time I ever saw a fox. It was in Michigan that I went to a dump, and it was like all these different gulls, and there were foxes there, and I was like, this is so cool.
What bird were you going for there?
That was actually before I was even like hardcore into birding.
So
So
you were just at the dump because you're just a dump aficionado.
yeah. I was with a group of artists, the artists that I worked for and our friends, and they were like, let's go to the dump and look for birds. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And so I had brought my guide, like my books with me, my first ever set of binoculars too, which were like these rinky dinky little ones. And I was like, let's go learn about birds. I'd probably at that point been birding for like a month or two. So I really didn't know that much, but I was like eager to go to the spot.
Yeah, that's cool. That's what I like about birding a lot is just the weird places that you end up going. I feel like we really veered off track from what I was asking before too, which I was now for you to tell me about what it's like at these festivals and these art gallery places where you're
Yeah.
actually selling your stuff. So what's kind of the behind the scenes of how all that plays out?
Yeah, so I've been doing that now for about 3 years, and I do roughly 40 markets a year, I would say, something like that. Most weekends I have art markets. I'm doing them in Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois. I've done them in Minnesota occasionally too. But yeah, how that works is I starting in like January, I start signing up for markets for that calendar year. So like for right now, I'm already booked up for all my markets through December, just because
Well,
you apply for them anywhere from like 3 months in advance to like 9 months in advance, depending on the market. And I have like a whole spreadsheet of all the markets I've ever done and the links to it and when the apps open each year so that I can stay on track and know. Because sometimes they don't necessarily post them just like for the public. It's just kind of like some are word of mouth, some are just like website, Instagram, whatever it may be.
it's on a need to know
Um,
basis.
yeah, it's complicated sometimes, but yeah, so we're getting into like the super busy season right now with markets and just because it's the holidays coming up. And so with markets, I do them at a variety of different places. I do them at breweries, I do Urban Birding Festival, for example, but it's mostly going to be breweries. I have a couple organizations that I like work with, like I do like there's this one called Sauced Market. It's a night market that happens in Milwaukee, Madison, and Chicago.
Hmm.
And it's from 5 to 10 p.m. Friday and Saturday night kind of thing. And it's really fun. They have drinks. And so it's like you have a whole booth set up. You usually get a certain amount of space. So like it's usually like one table, like an 8 by 6, or like for outdoor markets, it's a 10 by 10 tent that you're setting up. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. It can be very rewarding, especially like the holiday season.
Do you usually have to pay to attend these too?
Yeah, almost always. So most vendor fees are going to be anywhere from $50 to $1,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it depends. The highest I've ever paid for one is 850, and
Okay.
it's a 3 day market though. So and it's usually you kind of gauge how good those ones are. Like they have a lot of information. So like this one is a huge festival, the 850 one, and yeah,
Is it a
you're
bird
gonna get
festival or is it just a
it's
festival
not.
festival?
I actually have only done like two bird festivals ever. So I'm mostly doing this one is it's called Apple Fest. It's in
Mhm.
Lincoln Square in Chicago. And it's a very fall festival kind of thing. It's outside. They block off a whole like main street for it. And it's like a huge, huge festival. But it's usually like well worth it because like thousands and thousands of people will come through those ones.
That's cool. Do you usually make your money back then? I'm assuming you
Yeah.
almost always do.
I've never had a market where I didn't make my money back. So it's a gamble sometimes, but I'm really interested in like business and marketing. So I really try to like read up on things before committing to a market. So it's like if I'm a lot of times if a market is like free or like 20 or $30 for the booth fee, I usually have a tendency to know that it's probably not going to be the type of market where I'm going to make a lot. So I won't do them just because I'm trying to give myself a little bit of my time back. I used to do markets like that, just not as much anymore.
Mhm.
Um, Whereas like, but on the other hand, there might be some markets where it's a $500 market to do, and you know, you don't make that much. I've always made my booth fee back, but it's not, there have been times where it's not necessarily as much as I wanted to make. But then come the holiday season, that's when you make like, 60% of your income for the entire
Hmm.
year, to be honest, within that like last quarter of the year.
Yeah, Black Friday.
Yeah, yeah, and shop small Saturdays right after it. So it's a really busy time of year, but it's so worth it. And that's the time of year where I'm like printing every single night after work, sometimes till 10 or 11 p.m., just to catch up with things. So whether it be online or just like in-person sales on the weekend, it can be a lot. I also like sell consignment in a couple stores. So I also have to like, work with them and see if they have everything in stock. So it can be a lot.
Hmm. So are you kind of positioned, or do you foresee yourself positioned to be able to do your art as a full-time thing?
Yeah, I could definitely do it right now, actually. I currently do about the same as I do with like my full-time job with
That's
Florida
awesome.
Costco, which is super awesome. But I'm at a point where my mentality is like, I'm young, I have the energy. I'm like, I'm gonna do both and I'm gonna save as much as possible, especially just like I have goals for the future with like buying a home and things like
Hmm.
that. And it's just like right now I have the time and energy to do it. So I'm just going to go all out. And I also really enjoy my full time job. So it's like, I just don't know which I would give up right now. It's a lot of fun doing both. And I like
Yeah, that's
love working
awesome.
with the students and faculty at DePaul. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I could definitely do one or the other, but I don't know. I'm not ready to like give up either. And it's also hard to with like running a small business to it's not always stable. Just
Yeah, for
depending.
sure.
Yeah. And so that kind of makes me a little nervous because like January, February, March, super, super slow. There's not really any markets going on that time of the year. And sure, you make the bulk of your, sales like September through December. So it should push you through, but like the rest of the year it can be a little bit slow, so you're just like you have to like ration out that money that you make at the end of the year, which can be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, is there like a next step you want to take to expand? Is there something big that you're working towards?
um yeah, I right now I'm just trying to figure out how to maximize markets because I'm just kind of one person. That's my like struggle right now. I'd like to do more freelance work currently. So I do poster gigs for like bands in Chicago too, because my neighbor is also a screen printer and he does clothing for bands in Chicago. So when they need posters done, he refers them to me. So that kind of stuff's a lot of
I
fun.
hope that you make sure they get bird related things as their logos
I
and
wish. They just hand me the design and I just do the screen printing part. So I don't even have to worry about designing with that, which is kind of nice. But yeah, more freelance work would be fun so that I can like not feel so overwhelmed all the time or like handing my markets off to somebody else and paying them, I guess, to like run my booth. I do that I have two sisters and I currently use both of them to do my markets. When I double book on a weekend, sometimes I'll have two markets the same day that I know are going to be really good. So I'll be like, hey, can you guys do this one? I'll do this one. I'll pay you. And that works out really well, but it's not, I mean, we're all three very close in age and they have things going on. So I'd love to find somebody else to kind of take over markets, but it's also just like it costs money, and
Mhm.
yeah.
Sounds like you just need a franchise.
Oh my gosh, that would be crazy. That would be amazing. But
I felt like there was a look in your eye like that you were considering it strongly.
I know I would love to. I would love, and it's like, I would love to be like Bird Collective someday. They're like my dream. Like, I just love Bird Collective so much. I think they're the coolest brand ever. And I don't know, there's not a lot of like bird brands out there. It's kind of like a niche thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's reasons for that. I think that
Yeah,
not a lot of places see a lot of value in specific bird stuff, but
that's true. You'd have to be like your own brand, which I have no problem with. It just be like there's a company in Grand Rapids. They're called Woosaw, and she's a screen printer, and had two storefronts. I think they only have one now. It's in like Douglas, Michigan. I think they closed their Grand Rapids one, but that would be really cool, even like a retail space. But I don't know. I also really like partnering with people. Like I was talking about partnering with Don at Vortex. That was awesome. Stuff like that where I can partner up with another brand and do a bunch of shirts or designs is something I would love to do more of. But it's just about making those connections and finding the right people.
Yeah. And then what are your birding goals going forward? I know you're doing the kind of like low key Cook County big year, but what are you going to do
Yeah.
after that? Are you looking to travel more? What's the goal
Yeah.
there?
I definitely want to travel more. I'm like high on my list right now. I've actually never been to Texas and I would
Texas is
really
pretty great.
I was just looking at the Rio Grande Birding Festival coming up and I was like, I think I could maybe swing this year.
You can really go to South Texas anytime and have a really, really good experience because
Yeah,
the place is just decked out for birding. It's one of the few places where you can go to any nature center and just say, what rare stuff has been seen lately? And they know. Because
yeah,
around here, if you go any nature center, you're like, what rare birds do you have? They're like, I don't know. But down there,
yeah.
everybody is locked in on it.
Yeah, that would be so awesome. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. Or Florida too. I've also not
Yep.
done any birding in Florida, and that would be really great. Um, Maybe Arizona. Honestly, just kind of like south. I haven't
You're
done a
just
lot of
picking
that.
the three top places to go birding in the United States,
Literally.
pretty much.
I'm like the places I've got. I was in Washington earlier this year in April. I did Olympic National Park, and the birding there was awesome. That was super fun. I tend to like those kind of like coastal northern places. Like I went to Maine this year. I went to Washington. I'd love to go to Oregon, but um yeah, I don't know. I just haven't really gone south. I've been to Louisiana a bunch of times, and the birding there has been really great. Uh,
Yeah, a little underrated, probably.
yeah, it is honestly. I went there in January, like a year and a half ago, and I saw a ton of different kinds of birds. But yeah, Florida, Texas, Arizona, maybe out of the country a little too. Last summer, I went to Scotland for 2 weeks, and I went on a birding. I We hired a guide, and we went birding with him for like 12 hours, and we saw almost 100 different species,
Well,
and it was great. And yeah, we saw all these birds that like we saw a bunch of rare ones too, like a parasitic jaeger. Is it a jaeger? Is that how you say it?
Jaeger usually.
Jaeger, yeah, a parasitic Jaeger.
Bird
Um,
names are funny because people pronounce them differently.
I
Like the big
know.
one is Lazuli slash Lazuli bunting. I've asked so many
Yeah.
people the right way to pronounce it, and those are the two answers that I get, and I don't know which
Yeah.
one's right.
Yeah, I have no idea which one's right. I've said Lazuli. I've also said Lazuli. So I'm like, I don't
Well,
know.
you're out here calling them Scotters too.
What is Scoter?
That's how I say it. But again, you see
I don't
stuff in
know.
bird books, and then you only find out if you're right or not when you say it
I
in front of other
know.
people.
I know. Yeah, it's like embarrassing. I always get like people are like, "What kind of bird is that?" I'm like, "I think it's this." I don't know. I'm not a pro. Like I get so nervous to be wrong, but I guess it's the only way I'll learn. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm like, there's so much I don't know, and I'm like totally okay with admitting
that's
that.
the fun part, though. If you knew
Yeah,
everything, what would be the point?
yeah, exactly. No, there's so much I have to learn, which like is exciting. So that's also why I like hone in on the Midwest with the birds because I'm like, if I was like, I'm just gonna draw birds, I don't even know where I would start because it's just like there's so many interesting birds all over the place. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do Midwest for now, and then I'll expand to like West or East or something like
Yeah.
that.
I mean, there's a lot of good like regions to do ones like this. I want to see a North Woods birds
My
one.
gosh, that would be so great. I'm already thinking about it. I'm like, a loon, like, of
Bald
course.
eagle,
Yeah,
loon,
bald eagle. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. What are the other ones?
boreal chickadee would be good.
Oh,
Canada
yeah.
jay,
Yeah, that would definitely be a good one.
oriole owl.
Yeah, I was gonna say boreal owl, great gray owl. Yeah. I was like, we went up to Saxon Bog in January, and I would love to do a shirt based on that trip eventually.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, a Saxum shirt or just Owls of the North shirt would
Yeah,
probably
definitely.
be
I
a
have
huge
like a Midwest Owls print, but like I think doing like a Northern Birds, like a Canada Jay, like a red poll, purple finch, boreal chickadee, boreal owl, something like that would be a lot of fun.
there's something special about the North birds
Yeah.
because they're so much harder to find because they're kind of few and far between. So there's
Yes.
just something special about going up to, northern Minnesota and seeing a boreal chickadee.
It was like so much more magical than I could have even imagined. We were there just for a weekend, and like it was my first time ever going up to the bog, and just seeing as many great grays as we did and seeing like a boreal owl, it was just insane. I mean, I know it was an eruption year this year, so it was a little bit different, but yeah, it was. I still think about it. Like I've had so many dreams about it where I just see like the great gray owl, and it was, yeah, it was so cool. And just like having that community up there too. There were so many people when I went, and it was just like it was great.
Yeah, it's funny because I think we went, must have been around the same time that you went, because I think we went in January. It was either January or February we went this year.
Yeah.
The first day we were up there with one of our friends who's a local who knows where most of the stuff is, did not see any owls. So
Oh
just
wow.
went a whole day, no owls, dejected. The next day we went out and with some help from our other friends up there, got the three, boreal great gray, northern hawk owl, then also a snowy, then also a barred owl. So we
Yeah.
went from no owls to five owls one day
That's
to the next.
crazy. Yeah, no, we ended up only seeing three. I've never seen a northern hawk owl. Yeah, we saw like 10 great grays, I think. It was actually crazy.
That is crazy because we saw one. So it's so
Wow.
weird. I know, right?
Yeah. No, that's really crazy. Yeah, we saw a lot. And it was like every road we would drive down and be like, "Oh my gosh, stop." And there would be one like hanging out in a tree. And we only saw one boreal owl. And then we saw one snowy in Duluth actually while we were driving. It was crossing over a bridge right
Oh,
before
cool.
dusk, which was really, really awesome when we first uh got to Duluth. So that was really nice.
Yeah,
We got to
that's
see a
cool.
boreal chickadee, of course. So yeah, it was a great spot. I'm thinking about going back this January or February, but I'm just like worried that it won't be, as like
That's
exciting
the
as it
problem.
was for
Yeah.
me last year, just because it was
No, it probably
different.
will not be as good as last year for at least
Yeah,
another decade or two. I don't know
that's
that we're gonna have
yeah,
a boreal owl eruption like that
I
anytime soon.
know. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm like, I don't know, but
You
there's
should
so
just go
many
to
great.
Texas. You'll think that's magical too.
Oh my
The
gosh,
way you thought about Saxon is how you'll feel when you see Green Jays for the first time in Altamira Orioles.
I know.
You'll just
Yeah,
freak out and then you'll immediately have to draw them.
I know. Yeah, no, literally my partner's in Texas right now for work. He just got to San Antonio this morning and he's never been to Texas. I've never been to Texas. He's sending me all these pictures of birds and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's this bird that I've never seen. Here's the, bio of it." And it's just
That's
like
tough.
I'm so jealous. So now I was looking at the birding festival in October down there and I was like, or I think it's November, and I was like, "Yep, I think that maybe I need to go to that."
What's cool about Texas too is that it's so different from the southern part from the rest of it. So San Antonio is nothing like South Texas down by the border.
Oh,
You
really?
oh yeah, you have to go pretty far down for some of those birds because they just barely get into that range. So a lot of times when we were down there, we'd be basically on the border, looking at the border wall, or actually in a lot of cases beyond the border wall, because a lot of times it's on US soil exclusively. So you cross the border wall and then you're looking at the Rio Grande Valley, or Boca Chica Beach is another place where the river is obviously the divider. And you're just looking across to Mexico and seeing birds there. So a lot of those birds, if you look at their range map, it basically goes straight across Mexico, but
Yeah.
that part of Texas just happens to dip in, so that's the place that they're in because that
Yeah.
habitat is so specific down there.
That sounds literally amazing. Like I just can't even imagine. I'm like, I think I should probably look up flights later tonight. Yeah,
You
I was
probably
literally
should get
looking
them
them
while
up
they're
earlier.
cheapish.
I know, yeah, they aren't too bad. So I was like, maybe that's the way I'll treat myself. I've actually haven't really done any of the birding festivals outside of the Chicago Urban Birding Fest. So I'd like to definitely do more of that and like connect with people. So
Yeah, they're interesting. We've done most of the bigger ones. We've done Biggest Week, we've done Rio Grande. We're
yeah,
usually guiding or filming at most of them, so they're
yeah.
they're definitely interesting. They're a different vibe than anything else.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. Yeah. Yeah, they sound interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if people want to take a look at your art, where can they find more about you?
Yeah, so Instagram, it's just look up Forest Pressco. My logo's a green loon. There's underscores, forest underscore press underscore co. And my website's just forestpressco.com. And all my prints are available there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Margie, for your time. Definitely excited to see more of your art in the future. And thank you everyone else for listening and watching to this episode of the Badgerland Birding Podcast.